Hello class, welcome to the next unit. Today's video is going to be over parallel lines and transversals. We have three vocab words we're going to go ahead and start with, so you want to make sure you write these down. The first one is parallel lines. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. Coplanar, if you remember from Unit 1, means that they're in the same plane. And obviously, if they don't intersect, that means they don't touch or cross. Parallel planes, so the next vocab word, just means planes that do not intersect. And then the last one, which is probably the newest one, would be skew lines. Skew lines are lines that are non-coplanar, so not in the same plane, and not parallel. Okay, so two pieces to the definition of skew lines that you want to pay attention to. So we're going to go ahead and go through some examples identifying these new vocabulary terms, and then we'll get into some extra vocab in this section. So here we've got this three-dimensional figure, and in example 1 it says to name all of the segments that are parallel to segment BF. So the first thing I always do is identify where my segment is that I'm working with, and if you want to use highlighters or crayons or markers, whatever is easiest to help you. So BF is that top right edge, and all the sides that would be parallel to it are going to be the ones that do not intersect but are in the same plane. So in this case, that's going to be this segment here, so segment AE, segment DH, and then segment CG. All right, so there are my three parallel segments, and then we're done. The next one says name one skew segment to segment EF. So let's use our highlighter again. This time we'll use blue. So EF is this back top edge, and I want to find a segment that is skew to it. So remember, skew means that it is non-coplanar and it is not parallel. So you want to look for an edge that basically goes a different direction but is not in the same plane. And there are a couple different answers. The first one I see is this segment right here. Notice that this is not in the same plane as the back segment, and they're never going to cross. One goes up and down, one goes side to side. So you could say segment BC would be skew. You might have also seen segment AD would work. Or you could have seen one of the bottom ones here, DH or CG. So any four of those would have worked, and you just have to name one of them. Okay. And then the last one, name a plane that is parallel to the plane AEH. Remember, when we name planes, we use three letters, but we're really talking about an entire side. So if I'm talking about the plane AEH, I'm talking about this entire left side here. Okay, so this whole left side. So the only plane that would be parallel or that would not touch it is going to be the right side that I'm outlining in green. So all I have to do to name that parallel plane is to pick three of those four letters. So I could say plane BCF, and that would be fine. You could have said BFG, GCF, any combination of 3 points. And that's it. The next vocab words we're going to have involve lines and angles. So the first vocab word we're going to talk about is transversal. Basically what a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. So here, if I label these lines here, then line N would be considered my transversal because it hits two other lines. So here, line N. The next four vocab words are going to be all talking about angle relationships. And so what we're going to do is describe their locations, and then we're going to also just show you which ones match the definitions in the pictures. So the first vocab word is the consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior angles are going to be on the same side of the transversal, and they're both going to be interior. All right, so interior would mean between the two lines. Exterior would mean outside of the two lines. So same side of the transversal, both interior. And they're going to be here, in this case, angles 3 and 5. So angle 3 and angle 5 would be consecutive interior, or you could say angles 4 and 6. So notice 3 and 5 are both interior angles and they're on the same side of the transversal. 4 and 6 are both interior and also on the same side of the transversal. So there's two different pairs of consecutive interior. Next one is the alternate interior. So here that means it's going to be on opposite sides of the transversal. And they're also going to be interior as well. So examples of this one might be 3 and 6. So you can say angle 3 and angle 6 are alternate interior. And then angle 4 and 5 would also be alternate interior. So notice for most of these you're going to have two pairs of them because we have two sides of our transversal. Hopefully catch on. Alternate exterior, again with the word alternate, that means it's going to be on opposite sides of the transversal. And so this one is going to be on the exterior of our two lines. In this case, that would be angle 1 and angle 8. So notice they're on opposite sides of line N, because line N we said was our transversal, and they're on the exterior of our other two lines. So 1 is on the outside of A, and 8 is on the outside of B. So angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior, or we could say angles 2 and angle 7. So angle 2 and angle 7 are alternate exterior as well. And then last but not least is corresponding. So corresponding is going to be on the same side of the transversal. The difference is that they are going to, you're going to think of it like a slide. Okay, so you're sliding down from one angle to the other. So if I start at angle 1, I'm going to slide down to the next angle in the same location. So they would either both be on top or they're both going to be on bottom of the lines. So typically one is going to be an exterior angle and one will be an interior angle, but they have to be in the same location, so both on top of the lines or both on the bottom. So here we actually have 4 different pairs. You could say angle 1 and angle 5 would be corresponding, or you could say angles 4 and 8 would be corresponding because you could slide down, so 4 and 8. Or you could say angles like 2 and 6. Notice that they're both on the same side, but one is on the top here and one's on the top there. Okay, or you could say 3 and 7. So there are 4 different pairs for corresponding, whereas the rest only have 2. So now we're just going to go ahead and look at an example. I just want you to tell me the relationship between the angles, either using the vocab we just talked about or old vocab from previous units. So if we look at angle 1 and 3, and I always like to circle my angles so we know which ones we're looking at. This angle and this angle, that's not new. Those are vertical angles. Old vocab will pop up quite a bit, so just keep that in mind. 5 and 3, that's a new one. So because they're on different sides of the transversal, but they're both interior, they're between M and N, that means that these are going to be alternate interior angles. And then 8 and 2, if I look at those, again, different sides of the transversal, but this time they're both on the outside, so this is going to be alternate exterior angles. And I might also ask you to identify which line is the transversal here. So if I ask you to tell me which one's the transversal, my suggestion would be look for the line that hits multiple other lines. So here, line T would be the transversal because it hits both line M and line N.